Morning, everybody. I'm Mark Takamura. I'm the acting chair for the Maui MPO and the director for the County of Maui Department of Transportation. Today we have the Maui MPO Policy Board meeting. Today is November 25th, 2024. It is currently 8:02 a.m. Agenda items, call to order. So I did that. We're going to take attendance, I guess. So as I go through the list, if you can just say where you are and if there's anybody with you in your meeting space. So I think Jordan Molina is Director of Public Works is going to be joining a little late. Kate Blystone, Director of Planning, I believe she's also going to be joining a little late. Councilmember Tom Cook, good morning.
Good morning.
I guess.
Am I unmuted?
Yeah, we can hear you. I guess you're just going to say that you're
okay.
at the MPO office.
Good morning. I am in the MPO office conference room using your computer, and Yukile is going to come join and sit next to me soon.
Okay. Thank you. Good morning, Councilmember Gabe Johnson.
Good morning, everyone. I'm glad to be here. I'm alone in my workspace. No one's with me, and I'm ready for the meeting. Thank you.
Okay, great. Thank you. Councilmember Yukile Sugimura, I believe she's running a little late, so she'll be joining soon. Senator Angus McKelvey, is he on the call?
Chair, I don't see him.
Okay, so he's currently absent since we got no response. And then Representative Tyson Miyake, good morning.
Good morning. I'm in my home office in Wailuku, and I'm alone.
Okay, thank you. And then for the State Department of Transportation, sitting in for Director Ed Sniffen is Robin Shishido, Deputy Director. Good morning.
Hi, good morning. I'm in my Maui office alone.
Okay, thank you. And then from our, we also have, I guess, we have Executive Director Kanoe Batangan. Good morning.
Morning, Chair.
We have Maui MPO Financial Analyst Wendy Nathan. Good morning.
Good morning, everyone.
And then County of Maui Deputy Corporation Counsel in the Hulu Nunokawa. Good morning.
Morning, everyone.
Okay, so next agenda item is our approval of the August 28, 2024 minutes. We'll be taking public testimony for the approval of the August 28 minutes, but before that, I'll read a little bit about the testimony procedures. So oral and written testimony on any agenda item will be accepted. Oral testimony will be taken at the meeting. Testifiers are limited to 3 minutes to testify on each agenda item. Testifiers may only testify once per item. Testifiers are to provide your name and agenda item number testifying on. In-person testimony is also available. You need to just sign up at the physical location at the Maui MPO office. Remote testimony, testifiers via video may sign up using the chat function by sending a message signifying your intention to testify, your name and the agenda item you wish to testify on. Testimony shall not be submitted within the chat function. The chat function may not be used to contact board members or other meeting participants for commenting on agenda items or other matters. Individuals may be disconnected from the meeting for breaking decorum. All participants, non-board members, are asked to mute their audio or mute their microphones and video at all times except when called upon to testify or speak. Written testimony can be submitted via email to getinvolved@maui.mpo.org or I guess in writing to their mailing address. Testifiers via telephone will be called after video testimony has concluded. So let's see. So I guess, is there anybody signed up to testify on the August 28, 2024 minutes at this time? Kaunoi, has anybody signed up?
Chair, there is nobody set to testify.
Okay, I guess if anybody's interested in testifying on that item, if not, then I'm going to request to close testimony on this section.
Chair, before you take any action, can I ask that all policy board members turn on their video camera in accordance with sunshine law? We need to be able to record this. Thank you. Go ahead, go ahead, Chair.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so if there's nobody wanting to testify on the minutes, then I'm going to request to close testimony on the minutes portion, and then we'll go into approving of the minutes. So no objections?
No objections.
Okay, great. Oh, and then I guess now I just wanted to recognize that we have Director of Planning, Kate Bison, just joined us at 8:09 a.m. Good morning.
Good morning. I apologize for being late. I was in a conflicting meeting, but I appreciate your patience.
Thank you. And then I also see that Director of Public Works, Jordan Molina, just joined as well. Good morning.
Hey, good morning. Sorry, Mark, I'm still in commute, so I'm not gonna have my camera on so I can get situated in about 10 more minutes.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so where we are on the agenda right now is we just closed public testimony on the approval of the August 28, 2024 minutes. So if members have had the ability to review the August 28, 2024 minutes, I'm looking for a motion to approve the minutes.
So moved.
Sorry, Councilmember Johnson.
I move to approve.
Okay, great. Is there a second?
Second.
Okay. Seconded by Key. Okay, is there any discussion?
No discussions, Chair.
Okay, great. If there's no discussion, then all in favor, raise your hand or say aye. The only person that be unable to do so, unless you want to chime in, Jordan, since you're on the road. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 6. So we have six ayes. Jordan's on the road, and then is it 2? We're missing 2, 6, 7, 8, 9. Missing 2 people. Oh, so Yuki is yes, excused. She's still running late, and then Senator McKelvey is absent. Okay. I also wanted to just note that there is a council meeting that's supposed to start at 10. So we're hoping to kind of go through the our agenda and end the meeting by 10. So appreciate everybody's time or willing to start the meeting a little earlier today. Okay, so moving on, old business, there is no old business. New business, I'm going to open up public testimony on any of those items, I guess, under Executive Director's Report, presentation of urban boundaries and functional classifications, presentation on draft carbon reduction strategy, and financial report. So I guess, Kaunoi, is there anybody that has signed up to testify on any of those items?
Yes, Chair. We currently have one person signed up to testify. That's Representative Ellie Cochran.
Okay, go ahead.
Good morning
Morning.
again. Good morning. Thank you, Ellie Cochran. So yeah, sorry, I got to be very brief, but I just want to support the current Hele Mai action plan that you folks had worked so diligently on in the past with Director Pam Eaton and everyone. So what's in it currently, support it. In particular, you probably can guess, I'm going to highlight the Lahaina bypass extension to have it continue to be in the plan and move forward. So that's going to be one of my top priorities. And I see how Rep Miyake is here. So it's one of my main priorities to move forward in the next session is to get state buy-in to support, but also working with our federal agencies to support it too. So hopefully monies won't have to be squeezed out of the county and I can get it elsewhere to expand this most critical, really life-saving infrastructure for Lahaina, and which will tie into my next big item I'm always supportive of is our West Maui Hospital, which is not part of the transportation plan, but it connects. So I just want to briefly mention all of those things. I appreciate all of your work and happy Thanksgiving to all of you. Thank you for your efforts. And that's it.
Thank you. Thank you for being here with us, Rep. Cochran. Is there any questions or for the testifier? Any questions from our board? No? Seeing
Thank
none?
you.
Yeah, thank you. And yeah, happy Thanksgiving.
Okay, you too. Aloha.
Kono, any other testifiers?
Chair, there is nobody else currently signed up to testify. I do want to note that we received written testimony after the close of business on Friday. It was from Lee Chamberlain, who's on this call, asking that we support the West Maui Greenway.
Okay, thank you. Then you would be sending that over to the board.
Yes, Chair.
Okay, great, thank
It
you.
was just received after close of business on Friday, and this
Got
meeting was the start of business today, so we didn't
Right.
get to it.
Understood. Okay, thank you. I guess anybody wishing to testify, I guess make yourself known. If not, then I'm going to request to close testimony and then we'll get started with the section of on our agenda. Oh, seeing. Okay, okay,
No
we'll close
objection.
testimony. No objections, thank you. Okay, I guess Connoy, Executive Director's report.
Thank you, Chair. Okay, members. So first on our agenda is the update on the long-range transportation plan. I do have action that I want to ask that you take on today's meeting, so stay tuned for that. I will share screen and ask if you can all see a mostly white PowerPoint presentation.
Yes.
Yep. So as you all know, the Hele Mai Maui 2040 plan, our current plan, is set to expire at the end of this year. It's exactly 5 years from when it was approved, so that would be 12/12/24. The MPO has been working to create a new Hele Mai Maui, but our efforts were complicated because of the August 8th wildfires last year. So at the beginning of this current year, an action plan was adopted, and that was formalized on March 15th, 2024. It called for three things. One was a timeline and some workflow elements, but instead of doing a traditional update, meaning Hele Mai Maui 2045, the MPO proposed reaffirming our current plan and then immediately starting work on a Hele Mai Maui 2050 update. That was because my predecessor, Director Eaton, really just felt that we should not be doing an update that doesn't include West Maui. And at the time, there was no long-term recovery plan for Lahaina. This plan was blessed by FT and FHWA and then voted on by the policy board. But there were a couple of issues that we found in trying to implement this action plan. One is the time element. The contract that was created for this work called for the reaffirmation to take place by the end of February of next year. So there would have been about a month and a half gap between when the current plan expired and when the new one would have been adopted or will be adopted. And I have representatives from FTA, FHWA, and HDOT all on the call to kind of talk through what the implications of that are. But in gist, during the time that we do not have a valid long-range transportation plan, we will not be able to amend our TIP. That's the practical implication of allowing our long-range transportation plan to lapse. The next issue that we came up across was there was some confusion over what was required for reaffirmation. I mentioned earlier that FT and FHWA had blessed the action plan that was adopted by this body, but the elements of that I don't think were accurately communicated to our contracting team, who was responsible for doing that update. And to compound that confusion, this contract was actually used to procure services for updating the TIP. The MPO didn't issue a separate contract to update the TIP. It used this. And so the contractors, Nelson Nygaard, actually thought that the TIP update was what was required for reaffirmation. And started to move on to the next item in their work, which was laying the ground or laying the foundation for the LMI Maui 2050 update. So when I came into this role and realized what was happening, I asked them to put a pause on the 2050 update and go back to reaffirmation because we still need a valid long-range transportation plan in place sooner rather than later. And again, because of the confusion and the use of this contract to pay for the TIP update, we no longer have enough money in it for all of those work elements. So what we're proposing today is to revise the action plan. We'd still keep the project workflow and timeline management in there. We already have a updated transportation improvement plan or program that was adopted by the policy board at the end of summer on 8/28/24. It was then included in the STIP, and that just got approved earlier last week. But instead of laying the foundation for the 2050 update, I'm asking for your permission to reallocate those funds and have the contracting team finish the update of LMI Maui. And rather than a reaffirmation, because there's now a long-range transportation plan out and available for public review, we'd like to incorporate that and just do a full LMI Maui 2045 update. But in order to incorporate this work, we would like additional extension, or we would like an extension of about a month and a half. I mentioned that the practical implication of not having a long-range transportation plan in place is that you can't modify the TIP. And so we spoke with HDOT on what their amendment and modification cycle looks like. And we're told that as long as we complete the LMI Maui 2045 update by mid-April, we will not interfere with any of the regularly scheduled amendments or modifications that are being planned. And so this is what we'd like to request your blessing for today. Updating the action plan and therefore the contract we have with Nelson Nygaard to reflect these provisions. We would like them to adopt LMI Maui 2045 instead of reaffirm LMI Maui 2040. And we would like to offer a work extension until mid-April. I'm going to stop sharing now so I can see the members' basis, and be able to answer any questions that you might have. Also on the call, we have Jennifer Whelan from Nelson Nygaard, who's able to provide an overview of the draft plan that we've been working to create, and would be reflective of the revisions that we just presented on.
Oh,
Kanoa, did you want me to do that now, or do you
I
want
guess
to?
I'll defer to Chair if he wants to take questions, or if he wants to ask, then you go over the work elements and timeline.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for being here with us, Jennifer. I guess before we move on, I just wanted to, announce that Councilmember Sugimura did join our meeting at 8:16 earlier. I saw her, she popped up. So I guess Councilmember Sugimura, I guess if you can state where you are for the record.
Yeah, I'm in the MPO office with Councilmember Cook, and listening in on the meeting. There's just Wendy and Kaunoe, I guess, in the closed offices.
Okay, thank you. And I know that there was a question. I guess it may be better to hear from Jennifer, and then we'll do questions on this. So yeah, Jennifer, if you can proceed, and then maybe that may help answer some questions.
Sure. This will be very quick. Let me just make sure. Okay, there we go. So good morning, everybody. Thank you for the opportunity to be here with you and just share a very quick overview of what is included in what will be Hele Mai Maui 2045. So as Kaunoa mentioned, this is an update rather than a reaffirmation. And we wanted to give you just a quick look at what the chapters of Hele Mai Maui 2045 will be, because it does build on the plan that was approved in December 2019. So there will be a short introduction that explains sort of why this update is a little bit different than a very robust update. It is just a 5-year update, and so that can look different than, for example, the process that we went through when we created the island's first dedicated long-range transportation plan. We'll spend a little bit of time talking about current conditions, and so that really is an update of the fact book that was included in Hele Mai Maui. It looks at demographic information, it looks at travel flows, it reflects projects that are already underway across the island, as well as planning efforts that have happened since Hele Mai Maui 2040 was adopted. It will, of course, situate this long-range transportation plan in the 2023 fires and in work that has happened since then, including reflecting the long-term recovery plan for West Maui. The next chapter will articulate the goals of Hele Mai Maui, which, as you all know from going through the TIP update process, those will remain very consistent with what was adopted in 2040, with a slight update to reflect the importance of resiliency. We'll then do a full report on all of the existing projects and programs that were included in the 2040 plan, talking about what has been built, what is in progress, and what is still to come. And then the next chapter will focus on new projects and programs. And these are coming from a variety of sources. They're coming from the agency and departmental conversations that we had as part of the TIP development. They're also coming from the public call for projects that was part of that same TIP development, and then from many of the planning efforts that have happened since, including the planning for West Maui. So that section helps us develop a new project and program list for the 2045 plan. And then we move into the financial components of the work. And so this is a 20-year financially constrained plan. It does move beyond just the financial constraint of the 4-year TIP, of course, and so we will look out and really articulate what are the projects that are able to be funded within the next 20 years, and then what are the illustrative projects or projects that cannot be funded but remain important for Maui Island. And then, of course, we'll wrap up with next steps. I do want to share with you just really quickly a couple of things that we have already done in terms of public engagement. We will capture what we've heard from the community and our agency partners as part of this work. But you may remember that through the tip update, we asked people for input on the Hellemai Maui goals, including what remains important to them and how they would prioritize the goals. And improving safety and promoting health remained the top priority for people, followed closely by expanding mobility choices, connecting and strengthening communities, and enhancing resiliency. Maintaining current assets, of course, is one of the goals and also showed up on our list. We also asked people through the tip process what kinds of projects are particularly important to them. And we let people tell us the couple of different types of projects that are most important. You'll see here that complete streets improvements, so really making improvements to serve people using all modes of transportation, jump to the top, followed by new roads or highway connections, which really hit on some of the resiliency feedback that we were hearing from people. And then bike lanes and greenways was the third most important priority for people. And again, reflecting the opportunity for those types of facilities to provide options for people and then also be used as evacuation routes in the case of an emergency. So I wanted to just highlight those so that you know we're not coming into this process without public input. We will be using all of that information as we build out the draft plan. And what you can see in the schedule here are a couple of different things. So you see the draft plan that we have underway now with our proposal that we have a complete draft for the MPO's review by the end of January and a draft that is ready to come to the MPO's Technical Advisory Committee and the Policy Board in February. That will be supplemented with stakeholder engagement and likely some ongoing public involvement as well. But then we would propose, after reviewing that draft plan with the TAC and the policy board, the required 30-day public review period, which also includes agency and departmental review, followed by hopefully some relatively quick revisions, and then bringing a final Hellemai Maui 2045 back to the MPO TAC and then to the policy board in the early part of April so that it can be adopted before April 15th. So that is a very quick summary of what we are proposing, and I will stop sharing my screen so we can answer your questions.
Jennifer, sorry, actually, before we get to questions, can I ask Jen to pull the timeline back up? I want to make sure to highlight a couple things for the body.
Of course, 1 second. Good?
Yep. So we are able to turn this around in fairly quick order, in large part because the tip update was done under the impression that it was for the long-term recovery plan. And so the public engagement that was done there can be utilized for this. We're still going to do more because we recognize that the public may not have been aware that this was a long-range transportation plan rather than a tip. And that's built in. I also want to note that the TAC and the policy board meetings in February and April are not as spread out as they normally are. And that's because this really is an aggressive schedule and we wanted to buy as much time as possible for us to do the drafting of the initial plan before it goes out for public review. The public involvement piece that you see from the 28th to the 29th, that is in accordance with our public participation plan. And so everything we're proposing here has been coordinated with FTA, FHWA, HDOT, and is done in accordance with our public participation plan. And the representatives that we've been working with from FTA, FHWA, and HDOT are all on this call to help answer any questions you might have as well. We have Amy Ford Wagner from FHWA. I see Pat Tom from HDOT and Ryan Fuji from FTA. So before we get to your questions, I just want to recognize those resources as well.
And I will apologize for the typo on here. It is not a 1-day public review period. It is actually 30 days. That should be 3/29. My apologies.
Thank you. Thank you, Jennifer and Kaunoi. I guess policy board members, are there any questions for Kaunoi, Jennifer, and or FTA, FHWA, or HDOT? Yes, go ahead, Councilmember Sugimura.
Yeah, thank you. Sorry if I missed it. And if Director Batangan already spoke about this, but what is the cost to the MPO by doing this change? Or do we have enough money, I guess is really it.
I think we'll know by the end of the year because most of the drafting is going to have to be done during the month of December. So I'll know by the end of the year whether or not I have to come and ask for a budget amendment. And by that, I mean a amendment to the UPWP. I'm going to have to bring a UPWP amendment to the body early next year anyway, to reflect some of the other projects that Director Eaton had left in her transition memo, but also because we need to be able to support the Lahaina recovery efforts. So that's going to come anyway. I can stick it in there. The reason I don't know now is because the budget for updating LMI Maui 2050 was decent, and we're trying to do our best to save money and save time by utilizing the services of the MPO staff to supplement this effort as well. So we're doing our best to be judicious. I don't know if we can do everything we're proposing within the current budget, but if we do need a budget update, we have enough time to process that, and it shouldn't be substantial.
Thank you. So we'll look forward. Thanks for finding out this kind of important glitch, I guess. I'll wait for other questions or whatever, but I definitely support you moving forward with this. So when you need a motion, I'm here to help you.
Okay, thank you. I think Councilmember Johnson, you had a question.
Thank you, Chair. So my question is regards to how the long-term recovery plan interacts with this update. Is there any mention of the Lahaina Harbor? And if the county does purchase the ferry, it opens up federal funds to improve the harbor. Is that all being considered when it comes to? And it is maybe I'm not understanding that the update will incorporate the long-term recovery plan, or how do those two interact?
Chair. Yeah, thanks, Councilmember, for the question. So the long-range transportation plan is a 20-year visioning document. We will make reference to the Lahaina recovery plan and adopt all of the projects that are referenced in there. Many of them are already included in the tip, but there's going to be some, that are coming out through the public comment process. So we'll refer to the long-range transportation or long-term recovery plan for Lahaina. You call them money. The acronym for this is the same 4 letters as the acronym for the Lahaina recovery plan, with just the middle 2 switched. I get tongue twisted quite often when referring to them. But this is a 20-year visioning document. We will make reference to the Lahaina recovery plan, which is a little bit, or most of that work is shorter term. And then we will be referencing or adopting the projects that are specifically identified related to transportation or transit services.
So any mention of the harbor?
I think so. I'm going to defer to Jennifer on that one.
Yeah, we do have the ferry study incorporated into the tip, and so would bring that into the long-range transportation plan as well. And as Kanoe said, we'll pull from everything that is in the recovery plan to ensure that they're well aligned.
Okay, that makes sense to me. And then, okay, that's my questions for now. Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you. Is there any other questions on the Maui support? No? Okay. I guess if there's no more questions, looking for a motion then to to approve the executive director's proposed changes to the LMI Maui action plan.
So move. So move.
Member Segura, is there a second? Councilmember Johnson, second. Thank you. Any discussion? If no discussion, then all in favor, either raise your hand or say aye.
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 Okay, so I think we have 1. So there's 8 ayes and Senator McKelvey absent. Thank you. Okay, thank you, everybody. I guess Kawanoi, the next item is the presentation on urban boundary and functional classification.
Oh, thank you, Chair. So on the call with us today, we have representatives from HDOT who are going to present on the urban boundary and functional classification report. At the end of this, we're going to need the body to vote whether or not they want to concur with the findings in this report. HDOT, I can't remember who was supposed to present on this one.
Sorry. I guess I can start off a little bit. Hi, everybody. Good morning. My name is Patrick Tom. I am with the Hawaii State Department of Transportation. And today I'm here talking to you as the manager for the Federal Aid Urban Boundary and Highway Functional Classification update process that we're going through. Just to kind of get it started, over the past few months, HDOT has been processing updates to the Federal Aid Urban Boundaries and Highway Functional Classifications. And today we're continuing our coordination with Maui MPO. And we have a presentation for you from our consultant to update you on where we are in that process. And ultimately at the end, we'll be seeking Maui MPO's concurrence. So this morning we have, I think, Kathleen from our consultant team is here, and she'll be continuing on with the presentation to go through all that stuff. Okay, go ahead, Kathleen. I think.
MPO costs for your time. My colleague Kara is going to read the presentation. Try to make this quick because I know that you guys do have a council meeting to go to. But the state of Hawaii is updating the urban boundary and functional classifications of the statewide highway to reflect changes in population, unemployment, and travelers that are. It was done in 2012. So since each county has
Kathleen.
experienced changes in population.
Kathleen?
Yes, sorry. Yes.
You're coming in a bit broken for me. I don't know if everybody, or if it's just, I don't know if there's a way to make your connection a little bit better. I know your video wasn't on, but yeah, you're still coming in a little bit broken.
Is now better? Or maybe have to take over some of the. I'll join the phone as well.
It was still a little broken. I don't know if you could try call in or try a different way, but yeah, it was a little hard to hear.
Kara, why don't you go ahead?
Okay. I guess since 2012, each county has experienced changes in population that's in land use boundary amendments and development. So this affects our urban boundaries and functional classification. So we just want to provide some background The federal aid highway system is an integrated network of roadways and highways, land transportation needs of the state of Hawaii. In addition, urban and rural areas have differing characteristics in respect to land use type and density, trip type, trip lengths, and roadway network function. Therefore, we evaluate and update the currently defined urban boundaries so that appropriate functional roadway classification characteristics and funding categories can be applied. Functional classification defines the nature of how travel can be channelized within a network in a logical and efficient manner by defining the part that any particular road or street should play in serving the flow of trips through a highway network. And the state used the sub-statewide Transportation Advisory Committee as a stakeholder group for this update. So as you can see on this slide, we have all the agencies listed that were consulted. So what are urban areas? The U.S. Census Bureau defined the term urban area following the 2020 census. Urban areas are designated primarily based on housing unit density or population density measured at the census block level. To qualify as an urban area, an area must encompass at least 2,000 housing units or at least 5,000 people. Anything not in the urban area is considered to be rural. Following the 2020 census, 3 key changes were made to the Census Bureau's urban area criteria and designation. So that was increasing the minimum population threshold to qualify as urban from 2,500 to 5,000. And there's also an alternative criteria to qualify based on a minimum housing unit of 2,000. Using housing unit density instead of population density, and they're no longer distinguishing between urbanized areas and urban clusters. So all areas, regardless of population size, are just called urban areas. So what are federal aid urban areas? The FHWA defines an urban area as an area with a population of 5,000 or more, and an urbanized area as areas with a population of 50,000 or more. So federal transportation legislation allows state and local government in cooperation with each other to adjust the census-designated urban area boundaries outward, as long as they encompass at a minimum the entire urban area designated by the Census Bureau. So FHWA uses the term federal aid urban area to distinguish the adjusted urban area boundaries allowed for transportation purposes from those that are designated by the Census Bureau. And then these differences are shown here in this table. So the federal aid urban boundaries can affect certain FHWA programs shown here. So it affects the highway functional classification, highway performance monitoring system, our critical freight corridors, surface transportation block grant program, and then the control of outdoor advertising. So the steps that we use to update the federal urban boundaries shown here. Kathleen, did you want to try and go over?
Can you guys hear me now?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. Okay. Sorry about that. So the federal aid boundary process is pretty straightforward. So the first thing we do is we use the 2020 census urban map and we map those out. So we look at what the
Wait, we can't hear you now.
Well, it looks like you're muted. I don't know if you're called in under your profile. I think before you were unmuted. I think, did you mute your profile in in WebEx. Oh no, or Wendy, did you guys mute Kathleen? Yeah, you're unmuted now. Try again.
I'm unmuted. Okay,
Yes.
can you hear me now?
Yes, we can hear
Okay.
you.
Okay, sorry about that. So the urban boundary process, we start out with the 2020 census urban map, and then we map it. And then we look at adjusting the boundary areas outward based upon agreed criteria, which include geographic features. And also one of the criteria we look at extending it outward is whether the area was previously in the federal aid urban boundary. And then we get stakeholder agreement and concurrence. And then lastly, we submit it to FHWA for approval. Okay. And then, sorry, I'm actually in California, so I'm not in an area that has good Wi-Fi. And I think, Kara, you're on slide 8, because I lost my video.
Yep, the Maui map.
So this map shows the proposed 2024 urban boundary in both purple and yellow. So the yellow, just for your information, reflects what the federal aid urban boundary was in 2012. And then the purple reflects the new areas, which are additions due to the new areas in regards to the 2020 census. So combined, the purple and the yellow is what we're proposing for the 2024 federal aid urban boundary. And so the next slide, this first inset, just shows you kind of a zoomed in area of the 2020 census block that will be new to the federal aid urban boundary in 2020. And that's the Lahaina, Napili, Honokowai census block. Then the next slide shows inset 2 shows the Kahalui Wailuku census block. So this inset shows the 2020 census block and the boundary area adjustment compared to what it was in 2012. And then inset 3 shows Pukalani, Haiku, Pauala, Makawao census block. And again, this inset just shows the 2020 census block areas that will be new to the urban boundary compared to what it was in 2012. Any questions on the urban boundaries?
Yeah, any questions? Oh, go ahead, Councilmember Johnson.
Thank you, Chair. So I have a bit of a concern there in regards to turning this into urban. When a first-time home buyer goes and applies for a house, they usually go through USDA loans, and that can only be done in rural districts. So by creating more urban boundaries, I'm curious how that affects anyone trying to buy a home in these areas. I don't really see them. I could be wrong, but there might be county parcels that might be affected by this for affordable housing projects. So that's kind of the concern, that if we expand this, we're kind of taking folks away from getting their USDA loans, but I'm curious to find out more about that federal aid. What is the aid that is giving it? Is it for roads? I want to kind of balance that.
Federal highway system, so road. So the federal aid urban boundary is very different from the county's urban boundary or the urban designated within the county or with the general plan. It's not the same. So it basically refers to roadways in regards to as kind of that slide that Carl went over. If a road is considered urban or rural by federal highway standards.
Okay, so it wouldn't affect an affordable housing project in that area for those folks trying to get USDA loans?
It will not.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. All right, any other questions from the board? I can't see everybody's camera, so if you do have a question, then just make yourself known. If not, then we can continue.
Can
Okay,
you guys
we can
hear me okay? Because my phone, for some reason, cut off.
A little bit better, but it was coming in choppy.
Okay, let's go on to the functional class, and then we'll see if you guys have any questions after that. Oh, okay, sorry. So the next step here is that we receive consensus letters from the county and the city, and then we hopefully your concurrence today. The DLT accepts everything and submits it to FHWA for approval. Okay. So for the functional classification, this is a functional classification is a process by which streets and highways are grouped into different classes or systems according to the character of service that they provide, right? So like, what is the function of the road? And we know that individual roads and streets don't serve travel independently in any way. They most times travel acts as a system, as travel involves movement through a network of roads. So federal policy directs state DOTs to establish a classification of roads based on their function so that roads can be approved appropriately as funding opportunities arise. Therefore, functional classification is often used in determining federal, state, regional, and local priorities for roads such as road reconstruction, new roads, or road resurfacing. And the process is important because it identifies what Hawaii's federal aid highway network is, and it helps to establish guidelines, standards, and spacing standards. So in Hawaii, this next slide, in what you see in green is the types of classifications that we have in Hawaii. And it's also the same as the federal classifications. So after a road gets assigned a classification, the road is determined to be urban or rural based off that urban boundary that we just went through. And we also look at where the split makes sense. Should be noted that roads that are classified as local or a rural minor collector is not part of the federal aid highway system. That means they are not eligible for most federal highway funds. So especially in regard to this MPO, that means they cannot be put on the tip. There are a few special discretionary grant exceptions, but in general, local or rural minor collector roads are not eligible for the FHWA grants. Okay. So the process is consistent with FHWA's functional classification guidelines. So step one, we look at what the functional classification is, and we compare it to the new boundaries to see where the urban or rural designations. And then we adjust and review the criteria based off things like traffic generators, traffic characteristics, what the spacing is, continuity, and also relationship to transportation plans. Then we identify and map any other known traffic generators, big generators, like could be a stadium, a port. And then we look at different traffic patterns and land use. And we look to see where areas have changed. And then we make any justifications. We get local agency consensus and MPO concurrence, and then DLT acceptance and FHWA approval. Okay. Changes from Maui, and these upgrades were due primarily to increases and changes in land use and in traffic. So here, the first one, Hono'opi'ilani, it's just really a short area where the urban boundary switched from urban to rural to urban. So we're just trying to make the classification more consistent by calling it an urban principal arterial versus a rural one. Okay, then Kahua Street, we want to upgrade this from a local to an urban minor collector. This would make it eligible for federal highway funds. And it also helps to it creates better redundancy and connectivity in West Maui. A north-south collector in South Maui, we want to upgrade this from a local to a urban minor collector to provide better redundancy in South Maui. Waiale Road, we want to upgrade it from a local to an urban minor collector due to growth in Central Maui. East Waiko Road, we want to upgrade it from a local road to a urban major collector. And so part of Waiko Road is already an urban major collector. So this is the eastern portion to Kuilani. Then Kuhikahi Drive, we want to upgrade it from a local to an urban minor collector due to the growth in Central Maui. Then Maui Lani Parkway, this is an upgrade from a local road to an urban major collector due to growth in the area. And then Imikala Street, we want to upgrade it from a local to urban minor collector. And then lastly, Kamehameha Avenue, upgrade from a local to urban minor collector. So our next steps here is to receive consensus letters from the county, hopefully get MPO concurrence, HDOT acceptance, and then submit it to FHWA for their approval. Any questions?
I guess Councilmember Johnson.
Just one quick question. How do we find out if we want to look up an individual road? What would it fall under?
Where can you find? Hopefully your Public Works Department will know the functional classification of road, and they can let you know what it is.
Okay, thank you.
If it's a state-owned road, the state can let you know what it is. You're correct. It's not easily for for them, they just see a road. They don't know whether it's like a minor collector or a major collector. Yeah.
Thank you. I think Councilmember Sugimari had a question.
Yeah, good work, Kathleen. I think the important thing that you're talking about is to understand how the roads or the community has changed in terms of land use, and then to upgrade the roads appropriately. So going back to Member Johnson's other question, talking about housing, for sure, this is not necessarily about housing, but it is about changes within the community. So therefore, you're making these recommendations for the roads then to be upgraded to allow for more state and federal funding, right?
Correct.
Oh, good. And Waiale Road is really important for all the housing that we have in Central Maui. So I'm really glad to hear this, as well as Kuikahi and everything else. But good job. Do you need a motion, Chair?
Thank you.
I get not yet. I guess Kathleen, are we at the end of your presentation?
Yes, that's it.
Okay. I guess is there any other questions? I can't see everybody. So if there's anybody from the policy board that has questions, then just make yourself known.
Marcus Jordan.
Oh yeah, go ahead, Jordan.
Question for each dot. So you guys don't put out a map product showing all the classifications from the state side?
I can answer that.
Maybe
for
okay.
the DOT. We will be putting out a map.
It'll be posted on our website somewhere. The final product.
So is there a current map right now available?
Yes.
There is, from the last update was 2012.
Right.
Okay. Thank you. That's all, Chair. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Any other questions from the board? Again, I can't see everybody, so if you do have a question, just make yourself known. Okay, I guess seeing no further questions, then Kono, I guess the action that we need on this is to approve the urban boundary and functional classification. Is that what we're looking for?
Thanks, Chair. Sorry, slightly different from what I had written in the agenda. I need the body to vote to concur with the findings and recommendations in these two reports.
I need a new printer.
Okay, so we're looking for a motion to
Concur with the findings and recommendations of the Federal Aid Urban Boundary Policies and Procedures Report and the Federal Aid Functional Classification Policies and Procedures Report.
Okay, so we're looking for a motion for that. Councilmember Sugimura, is there a second?
So move. So move.
Second.
Second.
Okay. Councilmember Cook. Is there any discussion?
None there.
Sheriff, I have discussion.
Okay.
For my discussion, I think I would like to find be updated. Look for that map that the state recommended, and also maybe we have county maps. That is something that I think the public would like to know, and I myself would like to know on what type. How do we classify these roads? And in the future, I'd like to maybe make that more accessible to the public. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you. I think, I believe we can send out the link to the members in terms of, I guess, the public access site for the maps. I think the state can also provide that, but we can provide that to the members. And then I guess it would be in our minutes as well. Yeah. Oh, I see. Pat, do you have any comments?
Hi, yeah. So I just found the link. I posted it in the chat box. There's a link to the urban boundary and functional classification update we did last time back in 2012. So that link that's in the chat box is to those reports, and within those reports, at the bottom of the reports are the mapping and the listings and stuff like that. So that represents the current urban boundaries from 2012 and basically the current functional classification system for federal aid highways. So it's in the chat box.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
In addition, we're creating a GIS layer for this 2024 update, and we can provide the GIS layer to the county.
Oh, great. Okay. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you for that.
Thank you. And then, yeah, thank you, Councilmember Johnson, for the question and our clarification or discussion. And any other discussion? If not, then I guess all in favor of the motion, then raise your hand or say aye. So I think that's 1, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So we have 8 ayes and 1 absent. Senator McKelvey. Okay, thank you very much. I guess Kawanoi, next item.
Thank you, Chair. So the next item is a presentation on the draft carbon reduction strategy. This one's also from HDOT.
Good morning, Chair Takamori, members of the policy board, MPO Executive Director Batangan, and staff and other guests. Thank you for your time this morning to present an informational update on Hawaii HDOT Highways Carbon Reduction Strategy. I'm Dean Matsui, the state's project manager from the Highways branch. And joining me today is our consultant, ICF, is Hannah Thompson. And I'll hand it off to Hannah, who will present on this. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Dean. Aloha and good morning, Chair, members of the Policy Board, Executive Director, MPO staff, and other guests. Thank you for your time today. My name is Hannah Thompson. I'm a climate change and sustainability specialist with the consulting firm ICF. And as Dean said, I'm here to provide an informational update on the Hawaii Department of Transportation's carbon reduction strategy. Let's see. This is work that's taking place under the FHWA's Carbon Reduction Program, which was established as a part of the Infrastructure Investment and Jobs Act to reduce transportation emissions through the development of a carbon reduction strategy and by funding projects designed to reduce transportation emissions. HDOT, in consultation with MPOs, is required to develop a carbon reduction strategy that fulfills criteria such as supporting efforts to reduce transportation emissions, identify strategies and projects to reduce emissions, and quantify emissions from materials used in the construction of transportation facilities, and for the CRS to be appropriate for the state's context, considering things like population density. Earlier in the year, HDOT presented to Oahu MPO and Maui MPO on the carbon reduction program, specifically on the identification of projects and programs to fund, including active transportation, transit, and congestion relief. During this presentation, HDOT sought and received approval from the Maui MPO for the project prioritization process for CRP funds suballocated to Maui MPO. For ICF support of HDOT's carbon reduction strategy development to date, we have done a policy review and a review of current emission reduction efforts that HDOT is undertaking. This first part of the review included a desk-based literature review of relevant policies applicable to transportation sector emission reduction efforts in Hawaii at a federal, state, and local level. Likewise, we completed interviews with HDOT staff across the Highways Division to identify emission reduction efforts and challenges across planning, design and construction, maintenance and operations, and facilities and administration. Another key area of support that we're providing and are currently developing are the strategy level emission reduction quantification methodologies across 6 key areas, which include 3 strategies in active transportation and micromobility. This includes bike lanes, pedestrian infrastructure, and facilities, and additions to promote cycling, encourage walking, and reduce reliance on vehicles. Under this strategy, we also looked at introducing incentive programs to promote the adoption of micromobility options like e-bikes and mopeds. We looked at 4 strategies in roadway and traffic operational efficiency, which includes HOV lanes, evaluating roundabout installations as an alternative to traditional intersection controls for better traffic efficiency, signal optimization to improve vehicle flow and reduce idling times, and finally, traffic incident management, which are strategies aimed at improving traffic flow and reducing congestion. We looked at 3 construction and materials strategies, which includes carbon dioxide injected concrete, the implementation of materials that reduce the need for Portland cement, which thereby lower emissions, and strategies to recycle materials and minimize new material usage in new road construction. We're also looking at 1 commuter program for HDOT, which is a carpool matching program that will decrease the number of single occupancy vehicle trips. We're looking at 4 electrification strategies, which includes transitioning HDOT's public fleet and transitioning the public transit fleet to electric vehicles to reduce emissions, and then developing public charging infrastructure for light, medium, and heavy-duty vehicles. Finally, we looked at 2 renewable energy and landscaping strategies. The first one was increased use of solar PV systems, and the second one was tree planting to enhance urban green space and sequester carbon dioxide through increased tree cover. We are also supporting HDOT in doing a baseline assessment of GHG emissions for the on-road sector within the authority of HDOT. The approach includes determining the proportion of vehicle miles traveled within HDOT's jurisdiction relative to the total statewide on-road VMT, and then scaling those results from that statewide inventory accordingly. We're currently working on this, and the results are forthcoming and will be made available in the carbon reduction strategy. In the coming months, we will continue to make progress on various aspects of the FHWA's carbon reduction program, including the quantification of GHG reductions resulting from those HDOT projects and programs I talked about earlier. And this will help HDOT to understand and prioritize projects with the highest emissions reduction potential. In addition, we're in the process of updating HDOT's carbon reduction strategy, and that will be made public soon. And in the meantime, HDOT will continue to work with MPOs to reduce transportation emissions. The project will culminate in recommendations for continuous improvements for emission reduction efforts at HDOT. Thank you all for your time. Dean, I'll turn it back to you.
Thank you, Hannah. Chair, that's our presentation.
No, thank you very much. Any questions from the board? I guess when you guys do complete it, if you can just send over a notification to our executive director, Kaunoi, and then he can send it out to the board members.
Okay, will do.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, so thank you. I see no questions. Kaunoi, next item.
Thank you, Chair. Okay, so the last item on our agenda is the financial report. Before Wendy gets into the details, I do want to know 2 things. First is that the UPWP, which was approved by this body on July 30th, it was reviewed and approved by FT and FHWA. We got the approval letter on November 4th. The reason for the delay was that the federal fiscal year starts on October 1st, and so it took them a little bit of time to figure out what their numbers were going to look like. And we've since started the process for obligating the funds that were approved by you in that UPWP. I did mention to Councilmember Sugimura earlier that we will likely have to come back to this body for amendments early next year. Some of those are going to be because of requests from Director Eaton, things that she didn't get to before her retirement. There were some things that are going to need to be added in support of the Lahaina recovery efforts, and then some amendments that Wendy and I have been discussing and want to make to the working plan as well. The second item that I want to note before Wendy gives her financial report is that when going through the books, Wendy and I found that we don't have enough county and state match to fully utilize our allocations from the feds. We need a 20% match in order to get their full 80% allocation. And so we started to circulate a new financial supplemental agreement that will allow us to start tapping into those extra funds. Okay. With that, Wendy.
Thank you, Kaunoi. So let me share my screen with you so you can see it. It was also, the financial report was also on the website and sent to and we should, so hopefully you can see it. Just to go over really briefly, I tried to simplify the report so that it's not too confusing. We're showing the fiscal year is 24, UPWP amended, and also the fiscal year 25, which Conway mentioned was just a few. You can see that the budget to the versus the actual cost up until the end of October and how do we got up. Let's see. The main thing to look when you look at this report is to the differences is basically because the budget reflects costs that support the MPO office operations, which also includes the 2 expansion positions that we had included in our budget that we have not been able to hire just yet. So everything is kind of pretty much going as we anticipated. The difference in, I guess, when you look or as an example for rent under the fiscal year 24, we're slightly over budget. That's mainly because we did include some rent when we did the Vision Zero, the summit, and also the public engagement events that we had. We have to pay a little bit of rent for that. Pretty much everything is in line with our plan and also with the regulations. So if anybody has any questions, it's pretty simple. Just simple.
Members, this report was included in your member packet. Wendy, can I ask that you zoom in on the table a little bit more? The numbers are a little small and hard to see.
I'm not sure. Let me check.
I increased it on my end where there's a plus 100%. You can make it bigger on your end.
Right at the top. Yeah.
Thank you, Member Johnson. Okay. 2 things I want to include on top of what Wendy just presented. Both are grants that the MPO received and were not included in the UPWP, either the previous one or the current one. The first is Wendy, was it $2,500 or $2,000 grant?
$2,500.
Okay, so the MPO kind of received a $2,500 grant to support the Vision Zero conference that happened last year or earlier this year. Sorry. It was a grant from Ulupono, officially given to the Kihei Community Association for refreshments at that event, and lays and some other things. The Kihei Community Association cashed that check, gave us the cash, and that was then used to purchase the food and the lays and other gifts at the Vision Zero conference. There was an additional balance of about $800 when I came into this role. So I asked Wendy to detail all of the expenditures and give that report along with the receipts back to the Kihei Community Association, since the grant was technically between Ulupono and the KCA. I just wanted to make it known that there was an additional expenditure that was not approved in our initial UPWP. The second one is also a grant from Ulupono. This one is for the South Maui Quick Build project. The UPWP was short about $15,000, and rather than amend the UPWP, a grant was given directly to the Maui MPO to cover that shortfall. So when we do the UPWP update early next year, we're going to have to amend it to in part reflect that change in cost, but we will not need to be seeking additional grants to cover that shortfall, as we've already gotten one from an outside source. Any questions for either of those items or what Wendy had presented on in the larger financial report?
Councilmember Sugimura, go ahead.
Yeah, thank you. So I guess Kaunoe, your opening statements regarding the new financial, I'll just read my writing, but the agreement for the county's 20% matching. Are you saying that we haven't utilized it, or we didn't do something that you need us to do from the county?
So our budget is 80% fed with a 10% match from the state and 10% match from the county. The 10% match that we've been getting from the county and the 10% that we've been getting from the state wasn't enough for us to fully claim the federal share. And so in next year's budget, we will be asking for an increase in the county and state shares so that we can utilize all of the money that's coming to us from the feds.
So in other words, because we didn't give you enough money, you couldn't get more money because of that matching, right?
Yeah.
So do you
So
want that number?
So there's more money coming in from the feds that we've been able to access because we haven't had enough match.
Wow. Okay, that's kind of huge. Can you'll let us know, right? Before
Yes.
it hits the budget. And
Yep.
then the other thing is kind of interesting for the Vision Zero, the grant from Ulupono. Why didn't the Kihei Community Association just do the project, or why did they have to give it to MPO? I know they were assisting with the implementation. And what happened to the $800 accounting?
I don't know why it was arranged the way that it was. I would have preferred that the grant either come directly to the MPO and then we expend the funds, or it go to KCA and they expend the funds, rather than going to KCA and we expend the funds.
Complicated.
I can't speak to why that was done.
Is there still $800 left over? Is that what you're saying?
There was $800 left over. I gave it back to KCA.
Oh, okay, good.
Both Ulupono and KCA got a detailed report of all of the expenses that we made. We included a receipt for every penny that was spent, and then they got the balance back in cash because that's how they gave it to us.
Okay, and then the $15,000, is it a shortfall for the quick built project?
Yeah, so the UPWP called, I don't remember what so UPWP called for a $35,000 budget. The cost came in at 50, and so to make up the $15 difference or $15,000 difference, rather than coming through the policy board to ask for a budget increase, the MPO had gone to a private sponsor instead. So I just wanted to come clean on that. Yeah.
More with the county needs to put in for a match at the appropriate time.
Wendy
you could
or
give me a
Mark,
call
do
when
you know that number off the top of your head?
Yes, we had been previously asking for 50,000 and we are requesting 125,000 each from local, from the county and the state.
25,000.
125,000.
Thank you.
Sorry,
And you'll let us.
Councilmember, I didn't catch that last comment. The mic
Oh,
didn't
so you'll
turn
meet
on.
with the mayor for budget because we'll get it on March 25th for the new fiscal year. But can you also let us, the policy board, understand what the increases are for and why, so that we will know appropriately when we discuss MPO in our budget deliberations. Thank you. Good job.
Thank you. Will do.
Thank you. Any other questions on the board? So there's no action, right, needs to be taken for this, Kawanoi?
Yes, Chair, no action needed.
Okay. Okay, yes, if there's no other questions, then you can move on to the next item, your next section, announcement. So Maui MPO staff will poll the policy board members for their availability in the month of December to schedule the next policy board meeting. So just keep an eye out for that email. I believe it's probably going to come from Wendy. And if there's nothing else, then I will adjourn the MPO meeting, policy board meeting at 9:26 a.m. Thank you everybody for being here and for being flexible and moving the time up earlier so the council members can get to their meeting at 10. Yep, thank you everybody.
Good job, Kaunoe.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, and have a happy Thanksgiving.
Thanksgiving.
Thank you.
Thank you all.
Mahalo.